Okay, my last stream, why the hell is this plate holder here? Why is the plate holder here? Let's get that out of there. Where was I going? Oh yeah, last stream that I did, I was talking about what it would take to revive the industry. Certainly, the comic book industry, that is. More so, I guess, specifically speaking to the big two in DC and Marvel. And one of the things that I talked about was the editors. And I wanted to do a video just to sort of expand on that real quick, because I think it's very important if we're going to try to address some of the problems that take place when we reference the content, and that is the material that's actually in the books. And that's what a lot of people have problems with these days. They won't ever admit it, but there's a huge content problem when it comes to the big two. I think DC's doing a better job than Marvel. But one way, shape, or form, there's some content problem, too many books being put out. Continuity is very incoherent. And then, of course, you have people who are using these books with these characters in them as basically, it's almost like a propaganda arm, if you will. It's more so an extension to, of their like political and social views, right? So it's very easy, and I think a lot of us, including even myself, sometimes I get lost in the sauce, dwelling too much on the writers themselves, right? And that is, okay, so-and-so wrote this. This is bad. And then I'm like talking down on them in a sentence, or more so expressing my thoughts on it. But it doesn't really address the simple fact that before I, as a consumer, we was like, for example, we talked about this propaganda in Lois Lane issue #1, where the end of basically the entire book leads up to the end, and where Lois Lane is grilling a White House spokesperson that looks exactly like Sarah Sanders, the previous actual White House spokesperson, and then she's like grilling her on like child separation and so some other shit. So it reads like a CNN bit, right? And Greg Rucka, who wrote it, if you go to his page, he has like his profile pictures, the 45. I can maybe go to it real quick. I mean, that's the benefit of, and I've talked about this before if you want to look at my review, but you can see right here where his profile picture is a 45, Donald Trump. It kind of looks like a Nazi symbol, and then he has this circle with a line through it. So he's using that book as a extension of his political and social views. That's what he's doing. But you have to think about the levels of, or more sort of chain of command, the book has to go through before I get a hold of it. Before they even sell it to the comic book shops, which then sell it to us, think about the levels of command that has to go through. Editors, creative directors, and so forth. It had to pass up through all these levels before it became a thing. So what I'm saying is that those other guys have to be held accountable, and it's easy. And again, I am guilty of this sometimes as well. It's easy to just focus so much on the writers while completely ignoring the guys that have facilitated this entire mess and allowed this shit to happen, right? That's the thing that gets me. So the question then becomes, where in the hell are the editors? So they're either compliant, they're not doing their jobs, they feel like this shit is a good idea. Either way, they have to be held accountable for the nonsense that is taking place. And again, that then starts with them having to simply say, hey, there's a content problem and we need to fix it. But I don't know. Do these editors even have the nuts? Because it takes a certain kind of individual, and this is what we talked about in the stream. I came, being working in the gym industry, being a general manager and manager, having to hire and fire people. That takes a certain kind of person to do that, because you have to look people in the eye, and even if they've been working hard, if it's not up to par, you have to look them in the eye and say, "Look, bro, we got to let you go," right? And it takes a certain kind of individual to do that. And then we live in this day and age of diversity hires and people not wanting to offend people. So it almost is a climate that's been created to where I'm led to believe that maybe some of them want to maybe do their jobs, turn some of these books around, but they don't out of fear. And this is why, again, the shot call editors, as well as the other shot callers who put the editors in those positions, have to be able to recognize the issue and say, look, I need you to do your job. So when Greg Rucka submits this garbage, no matter what clout he has, no matter how many classic arcs he's wrote in the past, you have to take this and you have to say, all right, Greg, you maybe have some ideas that you can run with here, but there's no way we're putting out this garbage considering that ending. Here you go. Take that shit the fuck back, redo it, or you're getting took off the book, right? Simple as that. But it does take a certain kind of man or woman to do that. But my point, and I wanted to make this video to highlight that, just to keep it in your minds, when we're talking about the state of the industry and we're talking about the content problem and we go straight to the writers, we have to think about the chain of command. We have to think about the levels that all of this has went through before we ever even knew that it was a thing. Because there's other individuals, executives and so forth, that are allowing this garbage to happen and not doing their job and actually looking at this content and saying, all right, this isn't up to par. Take it back. So where the hell are the editors? Where are they at? What are they doing? And why aren't they doing a good job? Is a question that I have. What do they actually even do these days? I would love if you. I know some people with Marvel. I can most definitely kind of get a little more in depth. Maybe I do that for a video about what they actually do. But nonetheless, we know what the idea of an editor is and the different levels and the chain of command that it has to do even before it gets to them. Some individuals within this chain of command are allowing this shit to happen through all those different levels that it's being funneled before we get it. People have to vet that, right? And all of those are green lighting it and allowing the shit to get put out. So we have to, if certainly, maybe some of you guys are looking at it to crash and burn, and that's fine too. But certainly for those like myself who want to see them do better because the characters that we know and love are in these books. For those of us like that, we have to not just hold the writers accountable because they're putting out garbage, but also the individuals that are allowing the shit to happen. They can't get off free as well.